Well, during the Second World War, German Irma Fruchtgard served as secretary at the Stutthof camp, death camp in Poland, where an estimated 65,000 prisoners, including Jews, Polish partisans, and Russian POWs, died from the subhuman conditions there. Well, the now 97-year-old woman was sentenced by a German court to a 2-year suspended sentence for her part in the mass genocide under the Nazi regime. And now, nearly 8 decades after the end of World War II, many are wondering if this will be the final trial held of someone who was directly, personally involved in the Holocaust. Here's what the German state prosecutor in this case had to say.
We had to prove what she wrote. We analyzed all the documents which still exist from the concentration camp, and we searched for her signature and her initials, which was an incredible amount of work which had to be done. You can't compare that to the trials against concentration camp watchguards. I believe that it's very important for the survivors, but also for everyone today, that this trial ended with a verdict. I believe the sentence is adequate, but what's important is that there was a sentence in the first place, which ruled that she is guilty.
Well, joining us now for more is Dr. Ephraim Zoroff. He is the director of the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Jerusalem. He's got long experience in helping to track and bring former Nazis and participants in the Holocaust to justice. He joins us from Jerusalem. And Ephraim, thank you for joining us. First of all, let me ask the question a lot of people are asking now. Do you think this will be the last trial of someone who directly participated in the Holocaust?
No, that's not true. As far as I know, there are 6 additional investigations going on, and we already have a trial planned for a person who served as a guard in Ravensbrück, both in the men's camp and in the women's camp. And now I'm praying very hard that he survived to be able to be brought to justice.
Right, but as you mentioned, you're praying he survives. These are generally people in their 90s, are they not? So the question is whether some of them are either going to actually live to come to trial.
Listen, not long ago, there was a conviction of a guard who served in Sachsenhausen, an SS guard, who was 101. So, you know what? People without a conscience live longer, apparently.
I guess. Well, let me, I know we've discussed this previously, but it does again raise this question of what is some would ask, playing devil's advocate, and I almost mean that literally, what is the point of bringing these people to trial who in their even late 90s, even 100, who in most cases won't serve jail time, or if they do, will really just spend their final days there?
Okay, I think there are a lot of important reasons to do this. In other words, we want to, first of all, the passage of time in no way diminishes the guilt of the killings. Old age should not afford protection to people who committed these crimes. And what you have to remember is that when they committed the crime, they were not 97 years old. They were young people, full of energy, full of strength, and they devoted their strength and their energy to the mass murder of innocent civilians. So these are the last people on earth who deserve any sympathy because they had none for their victims, some of whom were actually older than they are today.
Right. How cooperative are the German authorities? We see this case, so this woman did receive a suspended sentence. How cooperative are the German authorities, or maybe some of the other countries there in Europe and East Europe that are going to be needed to bring these people to trial?
No, the Germans are cooperating, but there are several flaws in the German system that I have to point out. In other words, on the one hand, I'm very happy that they are bringing these people to justice, and it's a very interesting and important exercise in Holocaust education, because most people, of course, know about Auschwitz, but how many people know about Stutthof or Sachsenhausen or these other camps where these guards served? So it's a reminder, it's an educational lesson, and I can tell you about one byproduct of these trials that I think is actually really very valuable. In a previous trial of a watchtower guard from Stutthof, Judge Anne Meyer Goring wrote an absolutely brilliant verdict in which she tore to pieces all of the arguments against these trials. In other words, the advanced age of the defendant, the amount of time that's passed, the fact that other people who were higher ranked than them were not brought to justice. And she basically explained very clearly, very concisely, and very convincingly that in a tragedy of the scope of the Holocaust, there's no such thing as a small cog.
Right, and this would be the case of this woman who was a secretary. She was part of the machinery, the administrative machinery there at Stutthof, but, was not someone who was a guard or someone directly committing, say, brutality to the prisoners.
No, but Calev, she signed off on the decisions made to deport people to Auschwitz, for example. In other words, they found her initials on many of the orders issued by the Commandant Hoppe, who, by the way, was prosecuted in West Germany and sat 9 years in jail.
Right. All right. Well, as you said, there is a lesson and a message to be learned here. And you're right. Most people, including myself, did not know about this Stutthof camp, which tens of thousands of people died. And certainly this, as you said, this has been certainly helping to educate the public about that.
I have to add one thing that's very important.
Briefly.
10 days ago, she said that she regrets everything, okay? At the same time, she said that she didn't know that people were being killed in Stutthof. So my question is, so what's she regretting? Right. So it sounded very hollow to me, and I actually wrote an op-ed basically saying that I hoped and prayed that the judges wouldn't buy this kind of contrition or regret, because it's really not very serious.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. Dr. Freimsdorf, thank you for that.